Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here, and we're going to be going over my OLT replays again. So once I got to 1200 to 1300, I wanted to shift from the fun rain team I was using in the last video to a different team, and that was this Toxtricity hyper offense. It used Sash, Endeavor, Lead Mammo Swine, Toxtricity with Drain Punch, and initially it also had Throat Chop, but eventually, as I got on the high ladder, I made Throat Chop Overdrive due to the abundance of Skarmory and Corviknight I was encountering. It also had Drain Punch and Boom Burst, and Drain Punch was really good at hitting things like Chansey, Blissey, X-Drill, of course, even Bisharp and Tyranitar as well, so it was really helpful. Mixed Toxtricity was actually probably one of the MVPs of my laddering thus far. We got a Bisharp to take advantage of Defog and also just shred some Stallier teams that don't have Quagsire, which is very uncommon right now. Swords Dance, Life Orb, Rillaboom with Superpower, because the idea of this team is just to use Hawlucha and Fire Blast, Dragapult, which I'll get to in a second, and this Rillaboom set to all open things up for the Toxtricity, and Drain Punch Toxtricity isn't going to beat Leech Seed Ferrothorn always, especially with Rocky Helmet, so you got to be careful there, and I like having the lure. It also is able to let you take out Skarmory, Corviknight, and Mandibuzz after damage from, say, an Endeavor, or a +2 Close Combat, or a +2 knockoff from Bisharp, which means that you're not going to get stonewalled by any single defensive Pokemon with that. So yeah, it's actually Swords Dance, Superpower, Grassy Glide, and U-Turn with Life Orb. It's a really interesting set in this team. We have sub Swords Dance Hawlucha with EVs to live Toxic Scald, as always. I actually bumped a little bit more into attack on this team. It's an interesting spread. I think I'll probably just give you guys a standard spread because my other spread, actually, I noticed a couple issues with it, i.e. substitute HP numbers and the fact that it didn't have enough speed that were an X-Drill, so I'll probably fix that in the future. But also, there's last Pokemon, can be Dragon Dance, Fire Blast, Dragon Dart, Steel Wing, Life Orb, Dragapult, because you know that's the norm on Hyper Offense, it's speed control. It's a great anti-offense win condition. Dragon Darts in general, plus Dragon Darts plus Fire Blast in general is really good against Hyper Offense because they don't run fairies, especially without Magearna being in the tier now. Besides Azumarill, and Azumarill is not too common right now, but ironically enough, I'm facing it in my first game. But just before I get even more into the games, the first part, I'm going to be going over the matchup against Balance, Stall, and bulky offensive teams, which make up about half the ladder when I've been facing. Second half, I'll be facing offense and hyper offensive teams. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split up into two parts. Right now, the first battle, this is like the lowest battle I got with this team. I'm at 1362 roughly, or maybe it is a bit lower, but the point is that I'm starting lower and then I'm getting higher. And later on, a lot of the hyper offense I faced, that's going to be in the second part. So this is going to be two videos. One's going to be uploaded by like noon or 1 p.m. East today. The other's going to be uploaded like 3 or 4 p.m. East today, so definitely stay tuned. But the second video is going to be going over the hyper offense and hyper offense matchup on the higher ladder. And spoiler alert, this team's really good from like probably 1000 to like 1800 or 1850. But once you surpass like 1950-ish, it gets really hard to be consistent with it. You face a lot of other hyper offenses which tend to have decent matchups against me if it has something like Mew or Mimikyu. Mew sets up spikes, which is annoying. Mimikyu with second life. Scizor with Life Orb is annoying, and we'll get that in the second part. But in the first part, we're just cruising through some balance and bulky offenses. I figured it'd be a good way to get things started today. So yeah, first battle right here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm against Koenko or Koenku. I'm not sure how to say it, but we're going to switch sides. We're on the right side. I'm going to go ahead and lead off with my handy dandy Mammoth one, because why the hell not? I get Rocks turn 1. He goes for a knockoff. It reveals it's going to be Life Orb off that damage, I believe. Yeah. And then just fine. Okay, take the Ball Punch kill. I just want to set things up for either the Toxtricity or the Dragapult. I go Dragapult here because I think it's less valuable in this matchup since he is the Azumarill. And I get a Fire Blast off into that Azumarill. I'm like, okay, no big deal. He's probably going to go for Play Rough or Knockoff. So I bring in Rillaboom knowing I can survive any hit from it as long as it's not Choice Band. Then she goes Ice Punch, which is doing an interesting amount of damage, only 62, so I'm like, okay, well, it's definitely not banded. Anyway, he goes Amoonguss here, and I call that with U-Turn, and he has Helmet, so I'm all the way down to 18%, so I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm not going to have the Rillaboom for too much longer, so I want to get the Hawlucha in now, and thankfully, this is going to force him out, as I go sub just in case he goes Spores. Dunsparce is low ladder, so I don't know if they'll scout for that, but yeah, he goes to his road. I'm like, okay, unless this is max physical defense, I kind of just win the game on the spot here. He discharges, I'm like, okay, fine, just don't be max physical defense, and I should be fine to kick this out, but it turns out he is, or I like don't roll high. Either way, he takes me out, so now I'm like, damn, I'm down 6-4, and my Rillaboom's almost dead. This is going to be a hard game to win. I go to Rillaboom just to set up the Grassy Train. I know I'm going to be quicker because it's so defensive as well. Although it's just mad unlucky. So I get a U-turn off there. I bring in my Dragapult. I'm like, okay, I need to get that Azumarill like contained a bit. And then Dragapult actually does really well. So I'm going to fodder off the Rillaboom to it. Knowing that I forced it in, now I put myself in a position where Toxtricity can hopefully claim a kill. And I know I'm well behind here now, but I can thankfully just go for a Boom Burst here. And it actually does take out Hydreigon. It's like a 8 and 10 roll to take it after Stealth Rock, or 9 and 10 roll to take it after Stealth Rock. So yeah, he goes Volcarona here. I'm like, okay, this is the problem. I need to go Dragapult here, but that means the Dragapult's going to be losing health. So it's not going to be able to stomach a bullet punch from Scizor, so I might have to use Toxtricity as a win condition after all. For some reason, he goes for a second Quiver Dance, though, as I go Dragon Darts. And it reveals that he's got like HP investment at least, if not defense investment, given that Dragon Darts damage, but also, that means he might not be able to kill me with a +2 Psychic. In fact, he almost definitely did not. So now I go for another Dragon Darts. He retreats, thinking, oh, damn, I thought he was like maybe special or something. So thankfully, I get my way there. But yeah, the Life Orb Fire Blast was supposed to throw on him earlier on. And he goes Superpower there, predicting, press to Bisharp, and then finally he goes for another after I get a Fire Blast him, but that puts him in Sucker Punch range. So that could come in handy later, but I'm thinking, okay, he's probably just going to do a Jet here. So I just go Boom Burst, take this out, and now I assume he's going to go into his Volcarona, and I'm like, damn, I think I lose to this. He goes Psychic here. I wish I went to Bisharp, but I was scared of a Fire move. And I'm like, okay, should be fine. He goes Amoonguss here. I'm like, well, he didn't Spore before, and he's low louder, so I'm thinking maybe it's Stun Spore. And if he's Stun Spore, that's fine. I just can't get paralyzed, and I win the game with Sucker Punch. Not only is he Stun Spore, but he misses, so now I don't risk losing the paralysis, and it works out for me, because I knock him out with Knockoff, and I'm able to do the same to the Scizor, which is great for me. And last but not least, the Volcarona does fall, so I'm going to win in a very tight game to start us off. This was actually my closest game on the low ladder, I believe. I got unlucky in a couple of games, but this was like probably the highlight of my low laddering experience, if you will. This was only at 1362, I think. Yeah. 1354 for me. 1380. Yeah, I think this was. I probably gained like 8 points in the battles between. But yeah, anyway, so that was a win for me. Thankfully, he didn't Quiver Dance 8 times up, or 4 more times rather. The extent whip at 50-50s. So yeah, I got the Sucker Punch kill, and that was that. So alrighty. Next up, we have my game against Zippa D. This is actually all the way up at. He was. Come on, give me the ranking. 1385, and I was. Yeah, this was like a couple games later, but this was my first game against another OLT opponent. So turn 1, he reveals himself to be, I guess, Choice Band relevant because his Wood Hammer. That's fine. I get Stealth Rock up turn 1. I get Ice Shard damage off, and after Wood Hammer damage, he's just barely outside of Stealth Rock range. I think he's at like 25%. Yeah, 23%. All right, but now I know he's locked into this, so I can just go to my own Rillaboom, and he goes Corviknight here, and I don't know if I predict that. I think I do predict that in U-turn. Yeah, that's perfect because now this is gonna allow me to go out to my Toxtricity. And this is where it gets interesting, because I think at this point I still had Throat Chop, but he might have called me on that, or he just didn't think he'd go Overdrive, went for the U-turn here, and now he goes to Rillaboom. Like, damn, he must know the set. And that's part of why the team's a bit less effective in the higher ladder, especially because people have awareness of the sets, and that makes it rough. I go Boom Burst here just to try and not reveal that I have Drain Punch yet, so he could go Blissey, but he unfortunately goes to Clefable here, not Blissey, so yeah, he knew. And in the chat, he said, I said, do you know the set? And he said, yes, I watched the video. And I'm like, damn, fuck having a platform. But yeah, no, I had Throat Chop in this point as well, so it's kind of rough. I was like, damn, I could just kill a Blissey and kill a Dragapult to be so lit, but nah, didn't quite work out. Anyway, I get a Swords Dance off with Bisharp here. I'm like, yo, this actually looks amazing against this team. He Moonblast for 55, which means he probably has some special attack investment, or just a high roll. Either way, though, he brings Corviknight in here now, and after the second turn of Stealth Rock on it, I'm able to knock off and kill it. Thankfully, it might have been a roll, but I'm Adamant Black Blasted, so even if he's max defense, it's definitely a roll favorable to me. Anyway, he goes Dragapult here. I'm like, okay, he's going to be Wisp or subbing or Dragon Dancing, so I'm just going to knock the first time here, because worst case scenario, he Wisps me and I kill it, or he subs. I just can't let it kill me with behind a sub, and I should win with my remaining Pokemon at this point, so I'm just playing conservatively, and I knock again here. Now he goes Magnezone. I'm like, okay, that's chill. I'm going to go for another knockoff. I don't want it to be like sub or something like that, and he Specs. I'm like, oh, okay. Watch my channel, he might just be Specs Analytic anyway, but this team actually makes a ton of sense with Magnet Pulse, so regardless of that, it's fine, because now Hawlucha wins the game. I wish my man good luck, because, you know, he's a viewer, so, hey, man, if you're watching this, leave a comment below. Let me know how OLT laddering is going for you, and thank you for playing me, man. But anyway, Hawlucha is going to prevail in this game, and yeah, I think that these teams just do a really good job at setting up for late game Hawlucha or Rillaboom to clean, or even late game Bisharp to clean. It's just one win condition breaking for the other. So, for example, at Team Preview, Hawlucha is not winning because he's got a Clefable and he's got a Corviknight. But Bisharp's not winning either. However, it's able to force damage on that Corviknight, or force damage / force kills to let that Corviknight come in safely to begin with, and then force damage on the Corviknight, and that is huge. Another thing is Mamoswine not only use Stealth Rock to chip something like the Corviknight, but also it can use Endeavor to help force chip on that Corviknight or on that Clefable. And all of a sudden that Hawlucha looks great late game, or the Rillaboom looks like great game because the Dragapult and the Corviknight took damage, etc. It's just synergy. It's just kind of the most raw form of offensive synergy, and it's just so overwhelming to teams like this that it's going to do well. And here is another example of that. I'm facing actually a pretty common variant of semi-stall, Zera, Aura, Rillaboom, and then like the 4 fatties basically. I've seen this team 3 or 4 times, or I've seen it with different Pokemon. I've seen it with Ditto over Rillaboom or Zera, Aura as well. I think John W. is actually used a pretty similar team as well. But regardless of that, by the way, sub to John W. He's close to 1,000 subscribers. He's just great. Anyway, his team's got Zera, Aura, Rillaboom, Clefable, Blissey, Skarmory, and Toxtricity. I'm like, okay, bet. I'm going to go ahead and lead off with my handy dandy Mamoswine. He's leading off with Rillaboom. I'm like, okay, that's a common lead matchup. I just want to get my Rocks hooked. I guess he's scared of like a Choice Band Mamoswine or a Life Orb one, so he just goes out to his packs. Although honestly, he would just Grassy Glide that. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I get my Toxtricity on Blissey here, and I get a Drain Punch off for a nice 41%. And that's great because now it's going to be in range of a lot of my physical attackers. Anyway, he goes to Zera Aura here, and I'm like, okay, well, what's it going to do? Just knock me off for 55%? Not even going to a KO and Grassy Drain, so let me go ahead and get that Boom Burst off. And that's a nice 60% chip on the Pex there. You know, the thing is, Mixed Toxtricity is actually a stall breaker because the special wall, Blissey or Chansey, is always getting Drain Punched to shit. So, yeah, and you outrun everything on these fat teams besides maybe, you know, Rillaboom or Zera Aura, and those aren't even on full stall teams. So, yeah, the great thing about Toxtricity isn't necessarily how it sweeps, but rather how it breaks stall teams and stall cores. Anyway, he goes for Choice Band Grassy Glide here for 39. I'm like, okay, bet. And now he goes for another for 41. I'm like, God damn, that's so strong. I do 78 with the U-turn here, so we're just dishing out damage with our Rillabooms against each other. And now I'm going to be able to get in my Mamoswine here. He switches out to Skarmory, presumably being scared. I'm actually slower than it. I just wanted to get the kill, so I don't Fresh Shard, but that works for me. Anyway, I go Toxtricity here as he defogs. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't need to train right now anyway. He goes Zera Aura here as I go Boom Burst, and unfortunately, I don't get the 60-40 roll. He lives. So I go Mamoswine here trying to catch an electric move. I catch a Volt Switch and I'm like, okay, now I'm like way ahead. He goes Skarm here on the Stealth Rock. I'm like, okay, do I beta defog and go Big Sharp? I think I do try to do that, but he goes Zera Aura, which is fine with me too. I just go Sucker here, but he doubles Clefable for some reason. I'm like, okay, well, I can't make sense of that, but I'll just take my Iron Head chip. I'm not sure if he's Boots plus Unaware on this team because I've seen a couple people on the ladder just switch to Unaware to make it really good against setup spam, so I just went for the Iron Head, but yeah. Now I go Swords Dance knowing, okay, he's not going to let the Clefable die quite yet because I got the Dragon Darter in the back. Although, honestly, if it's physically defensive, it's not leaving a Steel Wing. So at this point, it's just an instinctual Swords Dance. And it works. I kill the Skarmory at +2, force the Rillaboom in, get my +1 defense on my Hawlucha, and therefore Grassy Glide's only doing 35. I'm like, okay, bet. Now he goes Blissey. I go Acrobatics. Doesn't actually take him out, which is like, oh, cool. I can maybe Swords Dance here, but I actually just don't want to take status, so I just Acro again. Now, he goes Clef, I'm like, okay, give me that. And thankfully it does die, but even if it didn't die, I was going to win this game pretty handily from this point. I mean, look, I had Bisharp healthy, I had Toxtricity healthy, well, not healthy, but alive, and I had a full health Dragapult with 1 Dragon Dance was going to sweep the team. So, yeah, pretty great there. And I was able to take out this kind of standard generic type of bulky team, if you will. Anyway, next up, we're against M. Saint, and now this is a team that ABR has used to get number 1 this cycle on various occasions, and also everyone just copied the team after ABR used it, so this is a really important matchup here. It's the Kyurem Pressure Stall, basically. Anyway, I get Stealth Rock turn 1 as he body presses, now I Endeavor it immediately. I just want to get it as low as I can for Bisharp and Rillaboom, and I want to try and catch that Kyurem with the superpower from Rillaboom. It's really important, but he goes Roost, I'm like, okay. Now that I know he's Rocky Helmet, I can actually get him a bit lower, so I'm fine with this. I just want to stay alive so I can set up Rock Skin later on, and I do just that, and that works really well because I get this down to 21%. I go Rocks one more time, Roost, that's fine with me. And at this point, I'm like, okay, now I know he's at 71%. That's so then, okay, here actually is a good play by the opponent. So I knew he was going to be at 71% there, so that's in range for a couple things. A, is going to be in range for +2 Bisharp. B, after Stealth Rock is in range for +2 Rillaboom Superpower, and also +2 Superpower from, +2 Close Combat from the Hawlucha, and if it's max physical defense, then Fire Blast from Dragapult as well. So I thought he'd just defog there, get my Bisharp in, and I'd be able to get the kill. However, he goes for Roost, and that's a really great play, because now he's at 100%, none of those calcs matter, and he could just defog again here, so I'm like, damn, okay, great play by the opponent there. So I go to Toxtricity, saying, okay, I'm going to cut my losses. He goes Body Press, though, he doesn't even bother going defog, which is smart, conservative. Now I'm like, okay, no way in hell he's staying in, so I go for the Boom Burst here, and as you see, that 2 kills the max special defense of Gastrodon. There's no actual check to this thing, so I get him out of the way there, which is amazing, and now I'm able to basically say, okay, I get the kill there in Gastrodon. So every time I come in with Toxtricity, I can get a kill now, and I'm fine with trading the Kyurem to get in my Bisharp on this Kyurem, because I know it's substitute. Icicle Sphere, Freeze, Dry, Roost, because that's like the PP stalling set that the people are using. Also get a chance to freeze, and he's just trying to Icicle Sphere down. I'm not sure why I didn't freeze, trying to go for the freeze, but yeah, no, at this point, Bisharp looks amazing because I'm able to really just get a kill here. I knock off there, predicting the switch, and that works out. I get the helmet off, so I don't have to take another turn of helmet damage. And I can Iron Hit just in case he goes Clef or some dumb shit like that. Now he goes Ditto to try and beat me, but I'm like, okay, that's chill. I think my play here was to switch Toxtricity, let that get foddered off, because at this point it's already done its job. Both the waters are gone. And now I can go to Hawlucha, and I know he's locked into knock. I go close combat just to be safe, but in hindsight, I think Sword Dance or Sub would have been better. Either way, though, I preserve my full health status, and I catch a double here. He was predicting me to go to Bisharp on the Moonblast, and if I get a raise from that, the game kind of ends for him. Or, well, he loses a Pokemon on the spot, and that's really bad. So I predict him to either go to Corviknight, predicting that, or to not go for Moonblast, and I go to Dragon Ball. And even if he went Moonblast, I could still force damage on that, and I'd be fine for Hawlucha or Rillaboom later on. But this worked even better, because now I get him in, he takes the rocks, you see. And Fire Blast, unfortunately, there misses as he goes for the Roost, but I'm like, oh, it's only just Roost. Okay, I'll live with that. Now he goes Ditto here, and I Dragon Dance. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, well it's a tie now, but if he's locked in the Dragon Darts, I can go ahead and get my Bisharp in and get a kill there. And then in the long haul, I think Hawlucha probably could win the game, because I always live a Moonblast and Clef, and now +2 is, well, +2 to it goes regardless, but yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, this is probably fine as long as it's not Brave Bird and Corviknight, and I know it's Body Press U-turn, so I'm fine. Anyway, he goes Clef on the Dragon Darts, I'm like, okay, that's chill with me. He didn't even want to risk the tie. I go Steel Wing, it doesn't quite take him out, but it's fine. Moonblast is going to take me out because he got the roll, which is fine. And now I go to the Rillaboom here, I'm like, okay, again, that's fine. But he goes Cure him here, and I call him that because Superpower is going to kill anyway. Actually, oh, I don't call him that. Damn, I should have Superpowered there. That was a better plot. But anyway, he goes Ice Sphere, and thankfully I do live that unless he gets 4 hits and high rolls. And he only got 3 hits, which is the average, so it worked out for me. I get the kill there, Superpower anyway, and now I'm kind of in the clear. He goes Corviknight, right. That's fine with me, but I know for a fact he's not Brave Bird, or he wasn't in other replays anyway, so I go for Superpower knowing, okay, Helmet's going to kill me. That's perfect. I'm going to block the U-turn / defog, and I can go Hawlucha here, and I can get a substitute up on this. That's fine with me. He's going to go U-turn. Now he's going to go Clefable, but Clefable is already weakened beyond repair due to the Steel Wing before, which again is another instance of synergy just really working out between these win conditions breaking for each other, as now I have no fear in just spamming Acrobatics with Hawlucha, and he goes Corviknight, so I just take it out with close combat, because again, it was weakened as well by the Rillaboom, by, the Fire Blast, etc., by Bisharp, So now he's still in Acrobatics range, and I'm able to clean out the game with Hawlucha, ultimately beating a Ditto that can't transform because it is behind a substitute. And that's that. It was a really tight game, well played by the opponent, but yeah, this is how I beat the quote-unquote ABR stall, pressure stall, if you will. This is only at 1776 though, so let's keep going. We're going to climb up a bit more. Right now I'm a bit below 1900. I actually peaked at like 2002 yesterday with an 86 GXC, but then I lost a million games later on in the day. Lost to dudes like Ruhr and Farden and a couple others using other hyper offense teams I'm going to get to later, which is ultimately why I'm retiring this team after this, but you guys can try it out yourselves if you want. Anyway, against Finchinator here, and he's using kind of a different variant of the team I mentioned before, similar to what John W's been using again. It's got Ditto over Rillaboom, but I wanted to showcase this just because Ditto makes the matchup a bit harder because it can kind of prevent any actual win conditions from sweeping beyond getting just one kill, because you could like revenge kill the revenge killers, if you will, with the Ditto being Scarf and Imposter, so yeah. But anyway, I leave Mamo and he leaves Scar. I'm like, fine, give me a body press here. He actually goes Spikes, which is just a smart play. I'm like, okay, I don't really love facing Spikes. I'm going to go ahead and go Toxtricity, but he gets a body press off, and I'm like, okay, I'm already at 63%, so I got to get my attacks off here. I go Shift Gear here, and I'm like, okay, please just give me the 60-40 roll, and of course, I never get this. I've never gotten this roll ever, but thankfully, I do get the roll on knockoff. I live the knockoff here, but this man knows I'm Drain Punch, and he goes to his helmet packs and takes me out, so I'm like, okay, shit, that's a good play. I go Mammoth here, though. I'm like, okay, I can pose a threat. I double the pull here, predicting the Skarmory to come in. I catch the Skarmory. I'm like, okay, does he know I'm Fire Blast? Does he? I think so, but apparently not, as he just goes for Toxic. That Fire Blast was going to kill him, by the way, so I'm like, shit, okay. But he goes Pex here on the Fire Blast. I'm like, okay, I got to get ahead of this game quickly, because this is a problem. But Bisharp can win this game. I know for a fact Bisharp can. I go Darts there, and thankfully it's going to do a bit over 60%. He goes for the recover there. I'm like, okay, I'm fine with this trade here. I'd love to get the rolls here. I go Steel Wing though here, predicting the Clef, and that was a really costly error because he's able to recover up to full health, and my Dragapult's dead. In hindsight, I should just Dragon Dart it again. Taking the helmet sucked too, but now I go Rillaboom, like, okay, I'm really far behind here. I gotta find a way. He goes to the Skarmory here. I go Swords Dance. I'm like, okay, bet. Now, I go Superpower just trying to chip this down, and he lets me get the chip, and does he Roost, or does he Body Press? He Toxics. Okay, interesting. I don't know. I think that was the worst move to click there, honestly, besides Spikes. But we'll take it. Anyway, now I predict him to switch to Toxics to try and heal that up later, or, you know, coming up Mamoswine's Earthquake could just, like, you know, be sacrificed, but... Yeah, I get that right. I get the Grassy Glide into Pex there. It's great. Now he's going to fodder off this Skarmory because he's like, oh shit, I need this Pex healthy. I'm like, yeah, you do. And I got the Grassy Glide there, but yeah, it doesn't matter. It was a fodder off play anyway. He goes back to the Pex. I'm like, okay, I got to get out of there because I want to preserve the Hawlucha sweep later on. And he goes for Bunker. In hindsight, I think that Bunker was a really bad play by the opponent because if I let the Rillaboom die, then I'm basically down with Hawlucha as well. So, like, I don't know why I bothered. We'll take it, sure. Oh, and I'm going for Earthquake into the Cleft, just trying to chip it. And he goes Softball. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. Alright, so I go Bisharp here, just trying to catch a Moonblast drop. He goes Softball. I'm like, okay, I guess I could just manufacture my own Moonblast drop with the Swords Dance. So I get that Swords Dance up there. He goes Zeraora. And now he goes Hard Ditto, trying to preserve that Zeraora on the Sucker Punch, I believe. So I'm like, okay, damn. He goes Sucker here. And do I go Sucker? Yeah, I go Sucker here. But now I know that I could just Swords Dance again. And now I just got to win another 50-50 later. First off, he lets the Zeraora go next. I'm more dangerous. And I'm like, okay, wait, if he locks into Sucker Punch, then this is fine. Because I can just win the game with Hawlucha from there with the Zeraora down. Potentially. Or actually, more likely, I could win the game with Rillaboom into Hawlucha. Yeah, I don't know why I said Hawlucha straight, but to make matters better for me, he didn't go for Sucker Punch. It was a bit of a way to 50-50 anyway, and he had to win both 50-50s, and he lost a second, but yeah, that worked out. I'm able to take him out with the Sucker Punch, which was right for me, and that's the game. He forfeits. Yeah, good game. All right, so we got 2 more games that I'll bring you guys in this part here as we hit the 21-minute mark. This is a team that's used a ton because Obstagoon is pretty good against the bulky teams you see on the ladder, and it's got nice longevity with Tangrowth plus Clefable, and also Sand to help with hyper offensive teams. So it's a solid team. I'm facing Mezi in this one, but I actually faced this team 3 or 4 times. I think I beat it most of the times. Don't quote me on that though. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and lead Mamoswine here. I get Nice Shard off, which is good. He goes Shadow Ball. I'm like, yeah, it is Specs. Okay, bet. So I get that Shard off, take it out. I'm like, okay, he's scared to bring something, you know, like an Earthquake or an Endeavor. Makes sense. He goes Goon here. I'm like, okay, he's gonna go Knockoff here, so I'm gonna lose my least valuable item, the Rillaboom's Life Orb. Then I'm gonna go double to Dragon Pulp on the Facade to try and take me out, and that's gonna allow for me to potentially force some chip on this with Dragon Darts. But also I could go Hawlucha on a Knockoff as well and get the Grassy Seed activated. But he goes to Pat. I'm like, okay, I'm 99% sure this is Toxic from past battles. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go sub and I'm gonna force chip on the Clefable for a Dragon Pulp later on because that's a favorable sequence for me. And yeah, he goes Moonblast. I'm like, okay, I wish I went just Hard Swords Dance, but I wasn't sure if they'd respect the sub or not, so I didn't want to get Toxic, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm fine with that trade. At least I'm at 26%, so everything in my team can kill him besides the Mamoswine and Terrain. So I just bring in Mamoswine here. I'm like, okay, I don't want to let that sequence come in. He's got no switching anyway, so I get the Earthquake off there. It's great. I get Shard off here, and Obstacle only does 23, but that's fine, because after Burn, that's going to put him in Dragon Dart terrain, so I'm like, okay, bet. And now he's really weak to this Life Orb Dragon Pulp. So I get the kill here, which is cool. Now I'm up 4-3. He's probably going to go Powder, but he goes Tangrowth. I'm like, oh, damn, okay, I'll give you that for Life Orb Fire Blast. It does 94 only, which is like, oh, lamb. But I don't know if he's going to roll the kill. Anyway, he doesn't quite take me out there, so I'm like, okay, bet. Now he goes to Powder, I'm like, okay, I just want to find a way to chip this. I Dragon Dart to there. I do only 40-ish. That actually means he's special defenses, though, because I did it without Life Orb. So I'm like, okay. That's really bad for Toxtricity. So I'm going to go for a Fire Blast just to double check the damage. Yeah, it's only just 17, so I'm like, okay. That's fine with me. I know no spread. I Dragon Dance here just to try and get as much damage off as I can. Now I just go for the 60%ish. Yeah, 60% Dragon Darts, and he sucks off. So now he's at 90. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe +2 Bisharp could kill him with a little more chip. Not too sure. I just go Rillaboom here though, and now I think I go for a Swords Dance. And I'm like, okay, I know it takes a Drill, I know it takes a Hip Out, and the Tangrowth is weakened, so I should be fine. And yeah, it is indeed the case. So take that out despite not having the Life Orb, thankfully. And now he goes Tangrowth. I'm like, okay, bet. I'll U-turn out there. And I can bring the Toxtricity to force it in range of Rillaboom, and I should be fine as he goes to the last round of Powdon. And he can't take out all 3 Pokemon on my team. I go Boom Burst there. It's only 58%, but again, it would be doing like 80% to a physical defense one. Keep that in mind. And yeah, take that out there. That's great. And now I go Grassy Glide for the win. And that's going to be a tight 2-0 victory against a really solid team. Definitely a solid opponent. It's a good game. I was already above 1800 for this. Yeah. And next one is against LT71 Alex Jules. Big shout out to this person. They're kind of an asshole and loud repeatedly, in my opinion. Don't really know what the deal is, but seems to be a really good player. It's just kind of a rough demeanor. So yeah, I don't know what the issue is, but anyway, I figured I'd highlight this one as the last game against like a balanced or fat team because it was one of my favorites. So what happens is I lead with my Mammoth Fine, and it's like a really good lead against this team if you lead Slowbro, because if I don't get burnt, I can force Endeavor pretty much no matter what. And unfortunately, he gets the burn, so you can just slack it off. I'm like, okay, maybe he doesn't scout for Endeavor. But nah, I go for the Endeavor, and unfortunately, he's going to scout for him. Like, okay, crap, that's like a big wrench in my game plan there. I kind of would have just won with that chip probably in the late game. So I get Toxtricity in here, and he teleports predicting that. It looks like a great play by the opponent there, and he brings in the moves. I'm like, okay, damn. Let me get that chip off there. He's probably going to spoil me, but that's fine. He goes Stomping Tantrum, like, oh, damn, I'm way behind now. That's not good. But this is at least weakened. That's going to open up for the Rillaboom. He goes Corviknight. I'm like, okay. I could go probably just kill it with U-turn, but he went to Corviknight, so I can't kill that with U-turn, obviously. So I go Holucha. I'm like, damn, if that Slowbro was just, I kind of just won with this now, because I surged into here, right, and I should live an Air Slash from Togekiss. So, as you see, I do live that comfortably, and I'm like, okay. If I was able to, let's say hypothetically, I was able to weaken the Slowbro. If I Swords Dance again, +4 is a good roll on the Togekiss to kill. I don't know which I'd have gone for, though. I'd have had to know the specific roll. So if that roll was favorable for me, then I would have just went +4, and I could have killed the Slowbro, or forced it to get another turn or two of Regenerator, killed, say, the Corviknight, or the Mungus, or the Zeraora, the Blissey in between, and that would have been like a huge opening for me, but nah, he goes Slowbro here, and he can just shrug off that +2 acro easy. On to 60%, so he's like, damn, Scald, easy. I'm all the way up 33%, I could just heal that off with the Regenerator, and I'm like, okay, shit, fuck you. Let me go to my damn Bisharp here, get that Swords Dance up, and he goes for the Scald, saying, I don't need this for Dragapult or anything. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's great. He gets the burn. I'm like, you know, kind of lame considering this just won. Like, at +2, gone after Stealth Rock. Gone. This is really lame for me, not gonna lie. But now there's some shit happening in the chat right now. I'm like, okay, you know, it's kind of lame, not gonna lie. And like, he's like, shouldn't have risked it. Like, it was the play. Like, I just win the game 70% of the time. Like, why is it not the play? And he's like, okay, that sucks. And he's like, well, your team relies on me burning to win. I'm like, no, your team relies on you burning twice to win. I'm like, okay, now I'm bound. I gotta make sure to win because this guy's gonna be humiliated if he loses after saying that. So I'm like, okay, bet. Get that Swords Dance off from Zeraora, chip that. I'm like, okay, it's in Dragon Darts range now. It's in Grassy Glide range now. That's cool. But I'm still down 4-3. This man's got some defensive monsters in the back. So I know I'm decently behind, but it's fine. He goes Volt Switch here, not knockoff or anything. I get my Swords Dance off. So he goes to a Mungus. I'm like, okay, that's chill. Just don't give min damage U-turn, please. It's Life Orb U-turn. It does like 44 min, 51, and I get the min. I'm like, okay, fuck this person. I am so unlucky in this game. But it's alright. Sludge Bomb takes the Mammoth Line out. I'm like, okay. I'm just gonna go back to Rillaboom. That's fine. I'll force a kill on this. That's fine. Okay. And now it's 3 versus 1. I'm like, okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this with Dragapult. The Zeraora should be able to outrun and knock it out with knockoff, so it's not looking great. But he goes Corfier. I go Swords Dance, like, please just kill me. He goes Roost. I'm like, okay. I need this to kill me. I can't have Zero. I can't die. I go Superpower here. I'm like, okay. It does 95 because he's like special defense up the ass for some reason. He goes U-turn. Like, okay. Well, unfortunately, he didn't kill me, but he goes Blissey. Why would you go Blissey? Is it not knockoff on the Zeraora? What? I don't understand. Or maybe he's knockoff, but he can't kill me. And I can kill it, and this can't touch me. It's not toxic. But as we see here, I go to my Dragapult, I Dragon Dance here, and he goes for the freaking Toxic. So he had Toxic. So it was like a huge throw. Huge throw not going to Zeraora. I get a second Dragon Dance off here. I'm like, wait, I just win now. Because at +2, I'm able to kill it with ease. So he goes Corviknight, that's gonna die, but I get another turn. Like, yeah, so that's fine. But now I just win the game of Dragon Dart. So instead of getting a for sure win with Zeraora, this man was like trying to preserve for 2-0, 3-0 or something. He goes to Blissey, think I'm special. Like, what were you doing? And I'm able to prevail here, so it's nice to get a win over someone who definitely talked mad shit in the game chat. So, you know, real nice. Nice and good game. And to make matters even worse, there's no good game on their end. So yeah, you know, just putting that out there. But anyway, this is the team facing bulky teams. It does pretty well against bulky teams just because Toxtricity and the combination of win conditions do really well. Unfortunately, I didn't get any games against Quagsire or Unaware Clef. Those would have been a bit more troublesome matchups, admittedly. As well as like Story Power Magirna, that would have wrecked me, but thankfully that's banned now, so it's great. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, and peace out. Bye, guys.